music, big build-up. Wow, look at these cars. Unbelievable.
So, we know last year that you, being the patriot that you are, you were going to be a part of the commissioning of the USS Delaware.
That's correct.
And you got to miss that.
Yes.
So we talked to Billy, and we came up, a submarine. I was going to build a submarine, but I couldn't find an oxygen bottle. So Billy wanted to do something kind of cool, and him and I talked, and he built you this right here.
Wow, that's really, really, really cool.
And
So-
thanks for the support of the United States military. I know there's a lot of guys here are veterans, and we thought that'd be
Soldiers
pretty
keep you free, not politicians.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is amazing.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great edition of the Garage Shop Insider Podcast, brought to you by Labware. Today, we're talking with Billy Rhine. He's only a good friend, and he's a neighbor of the Garage Shop. Billy, thanks for being on with us. You have a connection with Labware and Vance. You created some incredible gift that you gave him, a huge aircraft carrier. Tell us about where that came from. And
So Aaron actually alerted us a while back to all the stuff that Vance does for the military and what a big supporter he is. And so we've got two sections of our nonprofit. We do Military Pit Crew Challenge, which is our main nonprofit. We go to military bases. We train up to 40 teams of 10 personnel to do real NASCAR pit stops with NASCAR equipment on real race cars. And it was called by the Deputy Chief of Naval Operations at the Pentagon the best morale-boosting, team-building exercise he's ever seen. So from 9 years of doing that, we met so many great Navy and Marine families that we started building for fun these little 4-foot-long wooden aircraft carriers. We do
little and 4 foot, you said it
4
together.
foot long, yeah.
Okay.
They are little compared to the metal
I was
ones.
going to say,
so,
in comparison, yes.
But so we, in the last 5 years, we've given almost 80 of those ships away to families that get put on our list for different reasons. And when Aaron told me everything Vance does, I'm like, you know what? He needs a ship. Right. So we surprised him with a ship not too long ago, and it was pretty cool. I've heard it's on display in his office, so yeah.
And when he got it, he was very touched. You can tell, and it meant a lot to him. So congrats on you doing that.
It's good fun.
Okay, Rhine Enterprises. Tell me what Rhine Enterprises does and your main business core.
So we've actually been doing this for over 20 years now. We restore vintage stock cars. We collect vintage stock cars. We do vintage Trans Am, vintage Can-Am restorations. We handle Toyota's show car NASCAR program, custom builds for the Hall of Fame, specialty projects for different race teams. We do a little bit of work for Blackwater here and there. We're kind of those guys that everybody throws a project at they're not sure somebody can do or can do in the time frame allowed, and that's what we do.
So what's your motorsports background? How did this all start for you?
I was in NASCAR before I was 20 years. I think I was 18 when I first went to work for Randy Porter in Greenville, South Carolina. I worked there for a couple years in the Busch Series.
What'd you do for him?
It was my intro. I worked for a NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro team before that, and then so I wanted to go Busch and Cup racing like everybody else did back then, and so did that. Fabricator, just whatever. We had 6 employees and no money, so we did whatever we had to do, which was great. That's a wonderful learning environment. I don't think the teams nowadays have that learning environment. You come in and you're the fabricator that does ductwork, or you do crush panels, or you just do windows. Back then you did brake lines, seats, pedals, tailpipes, crush panels, ductwork, windows, whatever. So I came along in a really great time, I think, for learning all you can. So Porters to Ricky Cravens. By my second year at Ricky Cravens, I was a shop foreman and tire changer. I left Ricky Cravens to go to Adam Petty's, who is by far still my favorite person in racing ever. Left Adam Petty's, started the company, did go back and help Billy Blue crew chief the 15 truck in 2002.
Who was the driver?
Rich Bickle.
I was going to say.
He needed some help, had some team members walk out and was kind of stuck with sponsor obligations, and he called me up one day and he's like, Billy, I got no money and we got to run 20 more races. Are you in? And I'm like, sure. Why not? I like Billy Blue.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He is a great guy, and the thing I was always most impressed with about him is if you gave him $1 million to go racing, he'd spend $1.2 million because his goal was always to win races, not to make money, not to hide money, not to be famous. He wanted to be in Victory Lane at 10:30 at night at Charlotte Motor Speedway so he could call his kid and wake him up from Victory Lane. You'd see him in the background on his cell phone. You know, I love Billy Blue for that. He was a pure racer.
And his passion was
Yeah.
it's unbelievable passion he has for the whole thing,
Yeah.
and he still dabbles here and there. I know that. So waiting for him to surface again.
I'll tell you a funny story about that. So
Please.
we get through the Bickle year that was pretty chaotic because we had no money and we had to try to do all we could to keep sponsors happy. At the end of the season, my business was starting to pick up again. I'm like, Billy, I'm going to go back to work for myself. You know, I've got you through this mess. You got a sponsor coming. You got a new driver coming. You got all this great stuff. Hendrick's going to help you out, blah, blah, blah. I really don't want to start again with a rookie driver that's going to wreck everything you own. And you got some good guys wanting the crew chief position. Just go with it. I'm going to go back and do my thing. Well, that driver was Kyle Busch. I don't regret it.
Yeah.
The business has been great, but yeah, I missed out on that.
Rookie driver going to wreck everything.
Yeah.
That's all right.
And he didn't.
He didn't. Look how he turned
He turned out to be really good.
All right. So how does so you get all these jobs? How do people know to come to you? Is this kind of word of mouth, what you've been doing for so many years, or
Pretty
your
much.
reputation?
Yeah, and so I'm this guy. I'm the flip phone guy.
Really?
I don't do social. We have a Facebook page.
Sure.
I heard it's great. I haven't seen it in 5 years. A guy put some stuff on every now and again that I know it's wonderful.
and you own the company, but go ahead.
Yeah, I don't do texting. I don't do all the social medias. I don't do a whole lot of these.
Okay.
We work. We do a great job, and we've done it long enough properly that the phone keeps ringing.
So if I walk over there right now to Rhine Enterprises, what am I going to see on the floor?
You're going to see a Red Bull car Casey Kane drove getting finished up for a client. You're going to see a conversion for one of the new Toyotas we're working on. There's a Toyota Tundra in there right now we're working on. You're going to see Joe Nemechek's 1989 NASCAR All-Pro winning Camaro, his Dillon car that he won the championship with. I'm working on that one now. You're going to see a 9-foot-long, 500-pound metal ship I'm building just for fun. That's the big ships I talked about earlier. You're going to see a Moser 500 GT supercar. We're trying to break the 0 to 300 mile an hour mark in the standing mile with a street car. You'll see T-Rex number 2.
Oh.
The second T-Rex, it was built on the jig. It's not exactly like the first one because
Okay.
all those things were a little bit different. Right. But Ron Reedy and Rex Stump, we actually got the car from Ron Reedy. We're restoring that for a client up in New York.
So the T-Rex car was the one Jeff Gordon took to the All-Star race, won it handily, let's just say, and NASCAR said, don't bring that car back to the track again.
And there was a second one, from what we've heard, ready to go to the 600 that they had to basically back shelf because it became illegal too.
Oops.
So this second version never raced. It became a pit stop practice car. It was a Mero 2 show car for a while. It ended up at Ron Reedy's house in the woods, and we got it. And I bought it to save it because of what it was. It'd be a unique piece to put in my museum at the farm. But a really good friend is like, I want to race that car. I want to know what that one feels like. I'm like, nah, you really don't want to race that car. It's too special. You got to save it. He's like, no, I want to buy that car and I want to race it. So it's almost done. It's going to go to Kershaw in August and test for the first time. So, yeah.
So these guys, you talk about the Casey Kane's Red Bull car. You said for a guy that owns it, what's he going to do with it when you get it back? When he gets it back?
We SVRA, HSR,
Okay,
good
vintage
racing
racing?
clubs.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the racing clubs. They both of them do a great job in their way. But we rent Kershaw 4 times a year, 5 times a year, and just take a group of 6 or 8 or 10 down and just go play for the day, and just have a relaxing. If somebody's telling you when to be on grid and when to get off grid, and you got to race with 27 people, you don't know who they are. That's not relaxing to me. Okay. So,
all right, you brought up the museum. Let's talk about that. The barn. It's not really a museum. It's your museum. Mm-hmm. It's in a secret location. Mm-hmm. And how many do you have in there?
There's 37 in one building. There is 12 in the other building. There's 9 in containers. I think there's like 65 total. I think almost 40 are restored.
Give me some of the top ones you have there.
Some of my favorites. Okay.
Let's give your favorite.
Yeah.
Favorites. Okay.
I got chassis 4507 when I was working for Adam Petty.
Right.
We finished 4th with that car at Nazareth. We wrecked it at South Boston. I bought it. I put it back. I was actually putting it back together because Adam and I were going to go do some road racing with it, but that never ended up happening. So I just restored it, put it away. That's the one car I will never get rid of. I love it. He was just the right person, the right guy. I tell people that Adam Petty was the best of Richard, the best of Kyle, and the best of Lee in one box. He really was. I have a 1981 Rod Osterlin Wrangler Pontiac that Dale Earnhardt drove. That was probably the rarest find.
And for people that don't, Rod Osterlin was the first owner that Dale drove for.
Correct, his
and
first
won
championship.
his first championship, yeah.
And then halfway through that season after the championship, or 2/3 of the way through, Osterlin sold to J.D. Stacy,
Right.
and a bunch of the team quit and walked out. Actually, 2 weeks ago, J.D. Stacy's daughter, Velvet Stacy, came in for a visit to see the car and stopped by. Really, really cool people. Super great folks. Let's see, what else for favorite cars? The Osterlin car, the Adam Petty car. We own A.J. Foyt's 1978-1979 two-time championship USAC Camaro, unrestored original.
Really?
Yep, 9 wins, 11 poles, 2 championships in 2 years.
How does something come into your possession like that without, going?
Luck a lot of times.
Okay.
The Osterlin car was luck. The A.J. Foyt car was just a lucky find. I do have several people, great friends in racing, who look for stuff for me.
Okay.
That's where a lot of the cars come from. Is somebody will call me and say, "Hey, we found this." Tex Powell will call me and say, "Hey, I found this thing," or Johnny Dolan. Or we've been fortunate to have an amazing group of friends who help us with all this.
Okay. And while your reputation and the work that you've done, obviously, it plays into this, because if you're a jerk to deal with, then you wouldn't have all these opportunities.
Right. Yep.
Give me 2 more cars, because you got
2 more cars that I think are pretty special. I love my 2006, 2007 Jimmy Johnson Richmond car. I bought it straight from Hendrick Motorsports. I threw an Hendrick SB2 back in it and basically just put the assembly back together, because it's one of those, unbelievably distorted offset tail, crooked back window. It's a piece of art to look at.
Okay.
When they fabricated those kinds of race cars, they were artists. They weren't fabricators, they were artists. And I love that. I love what they did, how they did it, the thought process that went into a window that's in the car like this, but it still measures the X measurement, still measures just right,
It's called ingenuity.
Exactly. Exactly. And the teams pay better for thinking than NASCAR does, so the teams are going to outthink them. Sorry, NASCAR, but that's going to happen.
And sometimes when they cut, then the team has to pay.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So that one's
good.
one of my favorites. And then probably one of my sentimental favorites we found the Jimmy Hensley Buick Apollo.
Wow.
That he won Martinsville in 1987. He sat on the pole, won the race, led almost every lap. I'm not a big fan of V6 cars because the motors are horrible to deal with, but Jimmy's a great person. His family are amazing people, and to find that car and bring it back and have it sitting there that's a cool piece.
So between being busy at your own shop and then you have your museum, as you call it, do you ever go over there and just kind of like walk around and look at them and kind of reminisce, or do you have time to do that, or is it
Yes, and usually I'm looking at where can I park another one?
park another?
Yeah.
Kind of
Should
like
we build
here.
a rack? How are we going to do this? Yeah.
Kind of like here. Go to the lifts.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yep.
All right, so you get to, it's not just there just to be there to say, hey, I own all these. There's a reason you own everyone you do.
Yep.
Okay, historical reason, personal.
Yes.
Very good. So next door, how many guys do you have working there with you?
When we're busy, just 4 in the shop and myself.
Okay.
We've slowed down a little bit because of the COVID mess like everyone else, and we cut back a little bit. But we're getting ready to get ramped back up. Stuff is stacking up on us again.
Okay, I got one for you. Your dream car, if you get your hands on it, what would be your dream car to have?
My dream car to have Adam Petty and the Dale Earnhardt Osterlin car, just because of the rarity. The dream car I have that I don't own, I would love to find an original Terry Labonte Piedmont flatback Monte Carlo from 1984.
The number 44.
I would, yes,
Yeah.
would love it. Have not found a real one. I've looked at several,
Okay.
and none of them smelled right.
So they weren't
Right.
legit.
Right.
Okay. That would be the ultimate car. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, Billy, you've been talking about this barn and the history. I'm a big history buff. Followed the sport my entire 56 years of my life. Any chance a kid from Buffalo can go into the barn one day, maybe?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. You might have to leave your cell phone here, and you might
That's
have to
fine.
wear a paper sack
That's
on the
fine.
ride
That's
over.
fine.
But
okay. No
yes.
problem. I could gladly do that.
Yes.
I would love. I'm getting goosebumps just think about it.
I will tell you the funniest thing.
Please.
I took Ken Schrader out there one day, and Ken Schrader owns a lot of cool stuff.
Yes.
Okay. He walked in the building. He takes no more than 5 steps in the building. He looks to the left. He looks to the right. He says, "Bill, you got a problem."
Oh, like a collecting problem?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And
Yep.
you said what?
I said, "Yeah, I do.
I do, but
It's
I love
okay."
it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to this field trip. Good.
Cool.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thanks. Awesome. Hey, everybody, we really appreciate your support. Keep hitting that subscription button and like buttons for our YouTube channel, brought to you by Labware and Zaya Creations. Also, we are going to keep going every other week on the episodes because we have a lot going on. We want to make sure we give you quality content, not just throw something up there. Speaking of big projects, we're going to announce something out at Bonneville Salt Flats. It's so big, I don't even know what it is, but I'm looking forward to finding out. So stay tuned, stay with us. We appreciate you, and good things are coming. Great things are coming, and we thank you for all your support. Okay, we already talked to Billy at the garage shop, and you said you have this awesome car collection. I wasn't blindfolded. They put a bag over my head. They brought me out here. So what we're about to see is history,
Yes.
pure NASCAR history.
All stuffed in a small building. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
let's do it.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay. So this is a building you have, and it's the old dome shape. I love it.
Yeah. Spray insulated, air conditioning, keep everything climate controlled, and
Okay.
if you'll hang out by the front door, I'll
Sure.
I'll make it the big surprise.
Ooh, I'm ready.
Cool.
It's cool. Music, big buildup. Wow, look at these cars. Unbelievable. He's so good. The lucky little kid from Buffalo is now amongst this historical race cars from NASCAR history and others. Billy, I don't know, let's start. This looks like Midnight, Rusty Wallace's Midnight.
No,
Paint
actually, Midnight, I believe, is in Don Miller's museum in Mooresville.
Okay.
When Roger Penske bought the team from Don Miller and Rusty Wallace,
Right.
and it went from the 27 Miller Genuine Draft Car to the 2 Miller Genuine Draft Car. Roger bought 4 brand new Ronnie Hopkins cars. Penske Racing South 001, 2, 3, and 4. This is 002. It was originally built for big tracks, Charlotte, Michigan, places like that. It's restored, but set up for road racing. But we did put the right side window back in it because that's how she ran NASCAR. Cool car, beautiful car. I'm never a big fan of that paint scheme, but then once you get one done, it's like, ooh, that really does look cool. So just another one of our toys.
So in my brief racing career, I had a Malibu Classic boat, hand painted like Midnight. So okay. I'm looking at this one. I'm getting goosebumps. Hawaiian Tropic, Donnie Allison, #1.
This is actually a special build we did for a client of ours up in Canada, kind of similar to what Aaron does at the garage shop. This is an old chassis, old body, but all the drivetrain and engine's been upgraded. Hendrick SB2, 6-piston AP brakes. This is a wicked critter on a road course. You get the cool old look and style, but you get all the upgraded performance. We have a friend in Special Forces guy in Canada. He wanted this amazing toy, so we went to work for him.
Okay, having worked at DEI and Richard Childress Racing for so long, this naturally draws my attention. The #2 Wrangler.
Australian, 1981, yes.
Jeez.
So this car, she's race ready original.
Right.
Got the old 23-degree snowflake motor in it. Top mount alternator, Regal Ride shocks, everything just. People ask me, are they perfect? I hope so, but I'm not going to say they're perfect. They're as close as we can get. She's actually still got a little bit of gravel on it. We took her to a car show not too long ago, and I haven't wiped her down yet.
What's the reaction when people see this Dale Earnhardt race car? And they forget that Wrangler brought Osterlin #2 before he became #3 at Richards.
The newer fans don't know. Earnhardt drove a 2-car. When did Earnhardt drive a 2-car? Well, they don't get it. The older fans are shocked. Well, they're as shocked as I was. When the guy in California called me and said, "Hey, I've got an Austral and Dale Earnhardt Wrangler car," I'm like, "Sure you do, buddy. Everybody's got one of those."
Right.
And he said, No, Booby Harrington sold it to my dad. And at the time, Booby was working at Michael Waltrip Racing, so I called him. I said, "Hey, did you ever sell a car to a blah, blah, blah guy in Anaheim, California?" And he's like, "Oh my gosh, Bill, does he still have that Pontiac? Do you know what car that is?" And he went into the whole spiel, and I'm like, "Booby, break it up, call you back." And I hung up, and I called the kid back. I'm like, "You know what? I believe you. I'll take it."
Really? Sight unseen?
Sight unseen.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, Booby told me exactly what the kid had told me. So, and this thing was in a building its whole
just
life.
to touch this car.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this was the Strosbeer road course car from '89 that then became the Folgers road course car in '90. It ran Sonoma, but then if you remember in 1990 at Watkins Glen, the practice day, Dick Trickle, Mark Martin, and Troy Beebe got in a bad wreck coming up top of the S's.
Right.
This was a car that was in the wreck. When we pulled this out of the junkyard, the right front tire was pushed into the firewall.
Okay.
But it still had all the Folgers stuff on it. It was just rotted and rusty and whatnot. So we restored the entire car back like it was. You know, it's race ready as well.
Jeez, beautiful.
And it's a cool piece. Mark's used this for a couple events he's had out at his car dealership. He's asked if he could borrow it.
Sure.
And what I do with these guys, if we have a car of theirs that they want to borrow, if they'll pay transportation to get it there, they're more than welcome to use it.
How do you say no? It was their car.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we go from the 2 to the 3 Wrangler Dale in our car.
And this was a neat one because I was excited and disappointed all at the same time. When I got this car, I thought it was a black Goodwrench car. When we sanded the white paint off, it was black and silver underneath. And the story I was told is it was a Goodwrench car. So I get Lou LaRosa to come out here. Lou, I had never met him before he came to look at this car. He's a hoot. What a neat racer. He comes out, he looks at it for 15 seconds with the hood up, and he's like, "You ain't got a Goodwrench car. This ain't a Goodwrench car. This car never raced after 1986. I'm like, "How do you know?" He said, "Oil tank's still in the front. 1987, we moved all the oil tanks to a box in the car. This one's still in the front. We didn't race this after. This is 84, 5, 6. We didn't race it after 86. And he was like, the whole details of everything. He still remembers everything.
Kind of like you.
Well, yeah, yeah. I hope I still remember this much
Right.
when I'm his age. But, I mean, he remembered everything. So I said, if you're sure enough about it, do you mind signing the dash? And a lot of my cars, you'll see signatures on the dash. I verify it with and by the guys who build and worked on the cars. I wasn't here in '86. I couldn't tell you if this was real or not.
Right.
I couldn't tell you if that was real or not. I can do paperwork research and internet research, but they have to tell me. You know, that Wrangler car's got 6 signatures on the dash. This one's got 2, Danny Culler and Lou LaRosa. That one, David If signed it. That was the Daytona car from '81, '82.
Just says Cal. No last name needed.
Yeah,
Just
didn't
Cal.
need- yeah, didn't
need
need
it, didn't need it.
Yeah,
Got
exactly.
Cal, Dale, you know. Wow. Rob Moroso?
So, yeah, the Rob Moroso stuff is neat. A really great friend of ours in Florida had the Moroso cars. There's actually 2 of them. There's one over there. And when he was passing away with cancer, he called me up and said, "Hey, I want you to help me sell my racing stuff." And so I went down and looked at everything, and I'm like, "Throw a number at me. What do you want for everything?" Because I like this stuff. It's kind of
Sure.
cool.
I
you
noticed,
know?
yeah.
I know where it came from and you know the history on it. So he threw a number at me that I couldn't pass up. And so this is the V6 Busch Cup, the championship winning car.
Really?
This was the Speedway car when they won the
Okay.
championship. Still got the V6 in it. That one over there is unique because the year he won the Busch championship, he ran 3 Cup races. He ran a Moroso car at Richmond. He ran a Presto and antifreeze car at Dover. And he ran a Swisher Sweet car at Atlanta.
That's the
that
Atlanta
one.
car over there.
That ended up at the
Wow.
Atlanta Speed Shop. David Sosby drove that for them in ARCA. And when they shut down the Atlanta Speed Shop, the guy who owned it took that to his airplane hangar at St. Simons Island, parked it in the airplane hangar, and we bought it out of the airplane hangar for this guy and then ended up with it later.
Seems how it always comes back.
Yeah.
Swisher Sweets, when we were kids, that was my dad's little stogies and Tipperillos, so that brings back good memories. Jolly Rancher,
Will Cronkite
yes.
and Elliot Forbes Robinson. Yeah.
What's this here? We have
Lenny Pond and Harry Gant when
Lenny
they drove for
Pond.
Raymock.
Handsome Harry.
Yes.
Wow.
So this one too, autographed by
Well done,
Butch
Al.
Mock and Bobber Healy.
Oh, nice.
Now, I did have Bobber Healy build this motor because I wanted the motor exactly like they ran back in the day. And I'm going to get up with Bob, and we're going to put a motor in that Valvoline car soon too. Because I try to, keep, like I said, keep everything as original as possible.
You're doing a good, darn
And
good
Bob
job.
still
with it.
builds a great motor.
Okay, good.
So, yeah.
I'm seeing Jody Ridley, Ricky Rudd.
The old Truxmore car, yeah, that's a cool piece. We found that hanging on the wall in a restaurant. And I parked it outside forever because I didn't know it had any history.
Okay.
And when we were able to verify what it was several months later, I'm like, yeah, that thing better not sit outside anymore. So we drug it in, did the restoration. I'm not quite finished with this one yet. It still needs some wiring work and a little bit of stuff. But
Just looking at the mirror, the rearview mirror. Oh my God.
the truck side mirrors, yeah.
Looks like a serving plate. It's so big the way it's shaped. Oh, how did they do it? Okay. Now I saw this. I'm getting goosebumps again. AJ Foyt. I mean, we're talking AJ Foyt.
1980 Daytona 500 car. I think
1980,
he finished
okay.
third that year, or 79 or 80. Yeah, he finished third that year. That was a really great find. Actually, the gentleman I bought these from had this one, and we ran this at Darlington several years ago in their pre-race parade deal. That was kind of fun. We let Jeff Burton drive it.
God, the seat looks like something you have in your living room. Wow. Gosh, that's just amazing. These cars were here.
Yeah.
I mean, God bless you for saving these and keeping all this alive, too.
And that's what I tell a lot of people. That's what it's about. The values aren't where I think they should be yet. As far as when people ask me, "Oh, what's that? What's my car going to be worth? What's it going to be worth?" I'm going to disappoint you right now. It's coming. It's not there yet. But if you don't save them now, they may not be here in 10 years. That Jimmy Hensley car, for instance. That's the 1987 Martinsville race winner.
That's the race-winning car for Martinsville.
Yes.
And you have it sitting there.
Yep. We watched that thing rot in a field for 15 years, and the guy wouldn't sell it. Well, then he passed away, and his son took over the estate, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll get rid of that thing. I don't want it." We went in there, we sawed a bunch of trees out to get it moved.
Seriously, it was that bad?
Yeah, it was that bad. But it's a cool car.
Yeah.
It's the pole-winning, race-winning 1987 Jimmy Hensley car, and Jimmy and his family are like the greatest people on the planet. They're some of the nicest people in the industry.
So what do the people say? What do these guys say? Like, you say, "Hey, I got your car and what do they have to? There's got to be some type of. They got to be like, "Oh, that's incredible," and then they come see it and everything, and they're.
I'll tell you a funny story on that. So right before COVID hit, they were doing that Piedmont Triad Racing show up the road, and so I talked to Randy. I forget Randy's last name, but Randy Myers, and we set a deal where they have their autographs guys all in that big large sea of seats. We parked that in the middle of the autograph session. We covered it with a car cover. I got Jimmy's daughters to come up and unveil it, and it was really so we know it was really cool because when we unveiled it for the first 30 minutes, Jimmy didn't say nothing, and I asked his wife. I said, "Is he okay? Is he upset?" And she said, "You've overwhelmed him. Give him a little bit, he'll start talking again."
That's good.
And if Jimmy ever wants to borrow that for a show, an event, or whatever, he's more than welcome to it. That was a cool one. I like the pre-war cars, and the nice thing about them right now is the collector that's buying toys now, they don't like these things. They want a Maserati or a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or whatever. And these aren't bringing any value, so you can get them relatively cheap. This is a 1927 Pierce Arrow Model 80 limousine, and that's
This is a Pierce Arrow.
Yeah.
Do you know where these were built?
Where?
Buffalo, New York.
Where are they?
Yes.
All of them?
Pierce Arrow. Pierce Arrow, right there.
Check it out. Jump
Oh my
in there.
gosh.
Jump
I
in
got
there.
this one.
This is a driver, man. This is not a museum car. This is a driver.
You could house or start a family in this.
Oh,
back seat.
absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
See the little chrome circle on the wall? That's so you could talk to your driver. It's got a little echo tube up here.
Well, from my Buffalo friends, Pierce Arrow. Here you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you
geez,
bring your small friends with you, they can sit in the jump seats. But I don't fit in the jump seats. Yeah.
All right. Oh my gosh. This is so amazing. Wow.
Yeah, they're cool.
A little bit of home right there. Okay. Right behind you, we can't ignore this one, that's for sure.
So that was another one of those extremely lucky finds. This is the original 1978, 1979 two-time USAC championship Camaro. 9 wins, 11 poles, 2 championships in 2 years. It's the last car A.J. Foyt won a dirt race in. It's the last car he won a stock car oval race in, and it's the last car he won a championship in. I've had several people offer to purchase this car from us, and their second question is always, what's going to cost to restore it? And then I'm like, yeah, no, you can't buy it. It'll need to be restored one day. Everything will have to be restored one day.
Sure.
But
right now,
as long as I can keep it in original form, I want to keep it in original form.
does AJ know you have this car? Is he aware of
Years ago, at one of the North Carolina Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, I met him briefly in the elevator. Don Miller introduced me, and we had this. I didn't have that at the time, and we told him about it. But whether he remembers or not, I don't know. But that's AJ's duct tape on there. I mean, it's
This is just, oh my gosh. Steering wheel and the interior. These seats. There's nothing on the left side. There's something to hold your right side in. Jeez, unbelievable. Yeah. You got a couple tucked up in here.
Yep. The Martinsville winner,
Might as well.
The chicken pit car, we did a stroker race tribute car just
Okay.
for fun. I bought an Emmanuel Zervakis car at an auction, and because it never raced, it didn't have history, but it had 2/3 of a Ford body on it. And I'm like, you know what? I'd like to save it because it's a Zervakis chassis, and I've never seen a complete one before. And because the body's almost done, we'll leave it a Ford. What would be a cool Ford to have? Just to have a chicken car. Yeah. So we did one.
All right, and the next one, very close to home on that one. That's
Davey
actually
Allison's,
both of them, yeah.
Davey Allison's Busch Grand National car.
Okay.
In '91, they ran Luminas in the Busch Series and T-Birds in the Cup Series, and Ford was not happy about that, so they made a deal with them to switch all the bodies to Buick. They ran the last, I don't know if it was 8 or 11 races of the season with Buicks. That's one of the Buicks with a V6, with the Ruggles V6 in it, race ready. Just another neat find.
It's hard to believe Davey's been gone 28 years.
I know, somebody
28
said that to me
years, yeah.
yesterday. Yeah.
If he would have been around longer, just speculation, but you had to figure he'd be a huge factor.
Absolutely.
And next to him, I see a very familiar Sprint 45.
That is chassis 4507. That was our short track car when I worked for Adam Petty. And we wrecked it at South Boston, and they were going to get rid of it. And I'm like, no, don't get rid of it. I've actually paid the scrap guy to take it to my house and not scrap the car. And
Love it.
slowly put it back together. And I mean, we were going to actually try to do some stuff with it with Adam way back when. I mean, it's got as they were cycling out parts, we were buying the parts and putting them back on the car. It's got Adam's seat in it, all the parts from PE2.
Wow.
I mean, it's exactly as it raced, and as you can see, it's the only one that stays covered.
Yes, why is
most
that?
of the time? Because it's my favorite.
Okay.
Adam was my favorite person in racing.
What do we have? What's the 65?
That actually, so there's just another funny story. So I go to Roanoke, Virginia, and I buy this car from a guy named Tommy Crozier, who was one of those independent guys that would run, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing is he bought this car from Travis Carter. It's an old Harry Gant car.
Okay.
When you don't have money, you only paint what people can see. So everything underneath is still skull green.
That's amazing.
When you're racing on a budget, you don't paint
Yeah,
stuff that
who
nobody
cares?
will see. So
So it's an old 33.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Handsome Harry.
cool old piece, and we'll get it restored one day. It's on the list.
This is amazing. This all is just so amazing. All this history sitting here.
You gotta save it. You got to.
So
Because
what motivates you? I mean, you're how old?
I'm 44.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what has motivated you to invest and keep all this?
Well, okay. There's lots of funny stories
Sure.
with me. When I was a kid in South Miami, Florida, there was no racing. No Homestead Speedway. Nobody cared about NASCAR stuff. It was a fight to see a race or. I would get Road and Track magazine from a buddy of mine every now and again. The last 3 pages were always the old cars for sale. And I remember looking at those when I was a kid thinking, man, you'd see an old NASCAR or an old Trans Am car for sale, and I'm thinking like, man, how much money do you got to have one of those just sitting in your garage? That's the coolest thing in the world. That's amazing. We kind of have a few of them ourselves now.
A few.
So but that was what started. Is I literally, as soon as my buddy was done reading his magazine, and he would, pass it off to me, last 3 pages. Ooh, what cool race cars are for sale? Wow, that's and I fell in love with this stuff, and I love NASCAR from the 70s and 80s and early 90s, and I don't know. I tell people sometimes I wish I'd have come along 20 years earlier. I think I would have had more fun in the sport. I enjoyed the sport. I love racing. Still love NASCAR, but this has a special place.
So, but if you had come 20 years earlier, this probably wouldn't be existing. This probably would not exist. if you had.
Probably.
Because
Probably.
you've been part of it. Now you're reaching back and bringing history,
Yeah.
holding on to it, and sharing it with us today. Thank you so much.
No, it's really cool, and it just slowly, the nice thing is it's what we do, so I can restore them cheaper than most people do. And I'll tell you, 15 years ago, it was so much easier to find the bits and pieces you need to put these together. Now we're actually at the point where we're having to replicate most everything. We're rebuilding the Modine oil coolers from scratch, and the radiators from scratch, and the banjo seats you saw, we're refabricating those from scratch, and the head pads, and we have this whole list of things that we remake from scratch now, because you're not just going to find it somewhere, at Pistone's place or something, and it not be any good. So,
I know money's a factor and everything, but this is more like a labor of love. Safe to say
It
for
is.
you.
It is, and my company does well enough that and the other thing I think about, this is 22 years of collecting. It didn't happen overnight. I try to restore a couple a year just to put up. Most everything in here has engines in it and is race ready. Some of them don't. But if they're not in here, they're probably on my rack at the shop to go in them one day.
Unbelievable, man. I want to thank you so much for bringing us out here. I mean, this is just,
No,
I'm 12 years old again, maybe even 8 years
well,
old.
and that's why we do it, and that's why we bring people out here. We bring our military dinners out here and some of our nonprofit stuff out here so they can see this. But that's why we do it, because that's what people tell us. Man, wow, I never thought I'd see all these in one spot. I never thought I'd touch this car or that car or whatever. And then they start telling stories of what they remembered as a kid watching races and going to races, and that's a big part of it.
That's good. Thank you. I am personally blown away, but thank you for sharing this with the Garage Shop Insider people.
No,
Thank
love
you.
it.
I appreciate
Love it.
Keep up
cool.
the great work, man.
Thank you.
I'm very touched by this whole
Thank
thing.
you.
This is awesome. Wow.